Guys, is it just me or has this week really flown by fast? I can't believe it's Thursday already, which means a little later in the show I will be taking a look at the Menschers. Very interesting choice of Menschers today, and the morons. If you are joining for the first time, I am Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, where you join me every Monday to Thursday, sometimes even with a cup of tea. Although today I have my trusty water. It is a scorcher out there in Israel. And we take a look at the top stories making headlines right here in Israel. And as always, we do it in conjunction with these guys, lay of the land. So let's take a look at those top stories. And because our focus has been on events in Syria, we start with the latest updates from Israel's strikes on military targets in Syria. Now, one of Israel's members of Knesset, Hamad Amar, who's a member of the Yisrael Beiteinu faction, he crossed over into Syria yesterday and he said that what happened to the Druze, he said, were scenes that reminded him of the Holocaust. Now, yesterday I spoke to you about an image that I cannot get out of my head. It haunts me all the time. And that is that of 80-year-old Sheikh Shaheen, a Druze elder who, like many of the Druze men, was humiliated by Syrian regime forces who are Islamists, they are fundamentalists, who shaved his beard and shaved his moustache. And I told you yesterday that took me right back to the scenes that we have seen from the Holocaust of rabbis and religious Jews who were humiliated by the Nazis, having their peyot, their side locks and their beards cut off and shaved before they were murdered. Sheikh Shaheen died. The nature of how he died has not been made public, whether he was executed or he died maybe of a heart attack or other causes. But the image of the fear and the pain in his eyes is something I don't think I will ever forget. And the scenes that have been described to us of Syrian regime forces entering hospitals and attacking Syrian Druze, killing children in their hospital beds, raping women, taking women as sex slaves. And this is the reason why the IDF, why Israel has come to the defense of our Druze brothers and sisters. And more about that, because we have an excellent question about the Druze, more about that a little later in the show. Overnight, the IDF managed to return dozens of Israeli Druze back into Israel and managed to return some Syrian Druze who had crossed into Israel back into Syria. If you recall, in yesterday's broadcast, Prime Minister Netanyahu appealed to Israeli Druze, please not to cross over into Syria because it could endanger their lives, to allow the IDF and the Israeli Air Force and other forces on the ground to do their job, to work to protect our Druze brothers and sisters. There were also reports from the international media that Lebanese Druze were also making their way to the border with Syria. It's unclear if they managed to cross over and what the situation was there. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar spoke to a number of his counterparts, Germany, Greece, the European Union, etc., to explain exactly why Israel is targeting Syrian regime military assets. The foreign minister said first they came for the Alawites and the Christians and now for the Druze. President Herzog echoed the sentiments when he addressed an event, saying that Israel will not stand idly by while minorities are targeted in Syria. Meanwhile, last night the Syrian regime reached a ceasefire in Suweda, which is the Druze area, and there have been reports that they started to withdraw, albeit setting up checkpoints. Al-Sha'ari, the Druze president, has said that Israel has turned the area into an area of chaos, and he said that they will bring to justice anyone who harmed the Druze minority. Do we believe him? Al-Shara is a former member of Al-Qaeda, so the jury's out on that, and the jury's out on whether or not any kind of normalization talks between Israel and Syria can progress. Let's now turn to hostage negotiations, and according to the US envoy to the Middle East, Amos Hochstein, he says that there have been positive discussions around a potential ceasefire and hostage exchange in Gaza. Now, this was echoed by an unnamed Israeli official who said that a deal looks more likely than not. However, the IDF Chief of Staff, Brigadier General Zamir, said that the IDF will intensify efforts against Hamas if a deal is not reached. Now, Hamas have refused successive ceasefire agreements. Meanwhile, a short while ago, the IDF intercepted 2 rockets fired towards the border town of Sderot and surrounding areas. Firefighters have been battling blazes for 2 days now in the hills of Jerusalem. As I mentioned earlier, the weather here is very, very hot, and often in the peak of Israeli summer we do see these blazes. Now, while the fires do not present any immediate threat to communities and they haven't had to evacuate, there are several units of firefighters who are still fighting that, and at least 8 firefighting aircraft. And finally, NBC have reported that President Trump rejected a planned offensive put forward by US Central Command, or CENTCOM, as they are known, to further attack more sites in Iran. This would see the striking of at least 3 other Iranian nuclear sites, and would have gone on for several weeks instead of 1 night. Meanwhile, that's the end of that, guys. It's the end of a week and I'm exhausted. Oh yes, my point is that President Trump said he is in no hurry to negotiate. He would prefer a deal with Iran, but is in no hurry. See, soon, I know when I speak to you guys, my memory returns. I am completely fried. Excuse me, after the heat and the events of this week. So those are our top stories. Let's get to the audience question, and it comes from Sydney in Sydney, Australia, who says, who are the Druze? Because there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding out there that the Druze are Muslim. They're not. The Druze are an ethnic religious minority in the Middle East. Their religion is Druze. We don't know too much about the Druze religion, but what we do know is that in Israel, Jews and Druze have a sacred covenant of blood with our Druze brothers and sisters. Druze have their own unique culture, their own unique customs, and while they do speak Arabic, they are not Muslims, they are Druze. The Druze have formed an absolute integral part of the fabric of Israel, fighting alongside us since the War of Independence. They have died alongside us, they have grieved alongside us. They are our brothers and sisters. Our bond with them is sacred, and we are sworn to protect each other. As they have fought in our wars, we are sworn to protect them. And as the President said, we will not allow our brothers and sisters to be summarily massacred the way that is happening in southern Syria. And it is also important to know that Druze are very, very loyal to the countries that they live in. and the Israeli Jews certainly are extremely loyal to Israel. They are some of our fiercest defenders, and we are honored that we can defend their family members against a brutal regime force. So I hope that gives you some understanding of who the Druze are and why we are so dedicated to fighting to protect our brothers and sisters. And finally, let's take a look at your mentors and your morons of the week. So this is an interesting mensch put forward by Pepe Tobin, who has nominated Pastor John Ireland from the All Nations Church in Dublin. So Pastor Ireland, if you are watching, you are one of our mentors, one of our great people of the week. And another mensch that has been put forward, and I fully agree with this, is Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales. If you have been following the news, you will know that Princess Catherine, or the Princess of Wales, is in remission, having completed her chemotherapy for the finding of cancerous cells for an undisclosed type of cancer. And she attended Wimbledon, both the men's and the ladies' finals over the weekend, where she received a rapturous standing ovation. She's extremely dedicated to Holocaust education and works with Holocaust survivors, and she's just, at least in my eyes, the epitome of elegance and grace and class. So I think a very deserving nomination for Mensch of the Week. And our morons of the week, we didn't really get too many nominations, so I'm going to call out the morons of the week, and that would be the mainstream media around the world, who of course have missed the whole reason why Israel is striking Syrian regime targets in Syria, and instead of fixating on the fact that the Israeli Air Force and the IDF are striking targets. Open your eyes and stop being silent, you epic bunch of morons, and do your job for once in your life. I am a journalist. If you are journalists worth your salt, put away your latent prejudice and do your damn jobs. So I will calm down and have a sip of water because it's very hot. And remind you all that before you log off for the weekend, to please check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Oh, and how can I not remember? You see, guys, my brain is fried. It is day 650. Since the 7th of October, we still have 50 hostages who remain captive in the Gaza Strip. Day 650. How could I forget? I'm officially putting myself on that moron list. Raylene, how could you forget this? It shows you, I think I need a bit of a holiday and a bit of a stern talking to from the producer of this show, which incidentally happens to be myself. Also to remind you that we are on Facebook at Lottel Site, on YouTube right here at the Israel Brief. Guys, I like to be as authentic as possible and don't do multiple takes. So what you see is completely authentic and is done in one take, because I like to have a conversation with you. Hence the mistakes and the stern reprimand. We are on Facebook at Lottel Site, on LinkedIn at Raylene Marks, on Instagram at Raylene_Marks, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. So guys, I'm going to go give myself a stern talking to. I wish you all a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom, and I will see you again, hopefully with a functioning brain, on Monday. God bless and bye for now.